You're not the only one with internet problems.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is Overtime. That was Prayer for Ukraine by the New York 𝐓𝐢𝐬𝐚𝐬, the New York Ukrainian 𝐓𝐢𝐬𝐚𝐬 Choir. We have with us today Commander Lance McMillan and Operator Starsky. Gentlemen, how are you?
Doing great.
Doing fine, especially today.
Especially, I know it's
yes, with good cause.
Well, I think there's a lot to talk about, but let's show a quick map of just what's been happening. So this is the let's see, the area that's in blue. We are about to see. Okay, so that is just the last 4 or 5 days. You can see. The red is obviously Russians. Blue is controlled by Ukraine. Anything that's not blue is not necessarily controlled, but at least it's not in Russia control, so it's still reasonably contested. And that's what we've seen over just the last 2 or 3 days. Let's see that one more time. And that has gone all the way to Kherson and the river. They've been doing a lot of destruction as they leave. They've been blowing up bridges. We're going to talk about that, I'm sure, and a bunch of other things. But that is where we stand. So that's some amazing progress. Congratulations to everybody in Ukraine. I think that's marvelous. Actually, we're going to show one other thing. Apparently, Ukrainian forces have had some difficulty pushing forward. The reason is because so many people have been glad to see them and have been welcoming them that they've been stopping them in the streets and moved some of their forward progress to a standstill. Let's
Happy people.
Yeah. All right, silly question. I know I'm going to ask anyway. How you feeling, and what's the mood like in Ukraine right now?
So currently we have information from our president who confirmed that Ukrainian forces took control over Kherson, and the mood it's insane because I imagine what those people feel in Kherson, because they were isolated from the information from the media. I mean, like proper humane media, and from what I see in those videos, traffic light.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
So I'm gonna give him a sec. All right, we do appear to have lost him. It may be best for him to operate with his camera off. So Starsky notified us earlier. Unfortunately, he has lost Wi-Fi. He is coming in on his cell connection, so which we really appreciate. But obviously, it's a much weaker connection. Obviously, we were unable to have him last week because they had a complete blackout. 60+% of Kyiv. Oh, there he is. How are you?
Yeah. Sorry, I had a unwanted call. So yes, everybody is celebrating, and from what I see, the city of Kherson lacks electricity as well. So yeah, we can imagine just how happy those people are to see Ukrainian soldiers. They are soldiers. It's hard to express, actually.
Other than the loss of power, we know that a number of citizens were essentially kidnapped, taken against their will. What's the general status of the city, if you know?
We will have more of the official reports published, I think, anytime soon, because our soldiers are performing those stabilizing measures in the area, and they're moving in. So at this point, we can talk about the full control of the right bank, probably, but the stabilizing measures are not finished yet. So we gotta wait for the official report by the general staff, because they said that they still have to gather all the information from the area.
All right, there's a map. Well, I'm sure we'll get to that later, but that's a general map of where the control is right now. You can see Russia's been pushed all the way to the east side of the river. I think that's correct. Yeah, that's correct. Okay. So, all right. Well, I wanted to cover that, but let's begin, as always, then, if you don't mind, with just sort of a brief recap of what's happened since we spoke last in Ukraine. I'm sorry. I was asking you. Sorry, Starsky. I was asking you for a recap of what's been going on in Ukraine now, other than just this. What else has been going on in the war effort?
So we were talking a lot about this liberation of Kherson, the things that we see today. So the biggest concern was that first of all, Russia was gonna plant explosives, and or do some kind of ambush on Ukrainian forces, or I don't know. There were a lot of options, but our main concern was that they were gonna improve their defense positions in the area of 𝐒𝐤𝐿𝐴, for example. But today we also receive reports that they evacuate their personnel from the 𝐒𝐤𝐿𝐴 as well. So probably that area will be liberated as well very, very soon. But there's another concern that they built plenty of defensive positions on the left bank, and they're located just across the river, basically not too far away. And we received a warning from the general staff that said that there is a danger that Russia will perform massive shelling of Kherson very, very soon, in order to retaliate their defeat. So as for other news, that there weren't much news. We were preparing for this operation mainly, and I was closely following what happens in the area of Bakhmut, because my guys are operating there. And it seems that they're more or less fine. Today I had a message from Max, who brought journalists from Czech Republic to Bakhmut. And situation seems to be under control. But currently Russia has three main directions used to perform those attempts of advance, and those are Bakhmut, 𝐓𝐢𝐿𝐴, and Novopavlivka. All those locations are situated in the Donetsk Oblast, Donetsk region, but all other spans of the front lines are used by Russians to hold any possible counterattacks from the armed forces of Ukraine. So basically, we're talking about defensive operations mainly.
All right. I want to play just actually one of the. We have what is purported to be a apologies here. From a one of the Russian, it says the Russian 13th, I guess 13th Infantry, I don't know. He has just participated in this withdrawal. This has not been verified. It looks genuine to me. It looks real, but let's just be clear that this is not verified. We would not be airing it if we didn't think it was real, but we're gonna play this.
Ребятки, всем привет. Я живой.
So I tell you what, you know what? Let me boost the sound on that. Apologies. Let's yeah, I can let me get the sound there real quick, and now that that's done, let's try that again.
Ребятки, всем привет. Я живой, почти здоров. Что сказать? Ну, все, что я говорил, блядь, случилось. Вот. Те, кто пытается найти этому оправдание, там, сравнивать это с Бородиной, еще с чем-то, можете смело их послать нахуй. Вот. Те, кто сейчас рассказывают, блядь, про Павловку, блядь, и сравнивают это с Херсоном, блядь, тоже можете их нахуй послать. Те, кто считает, что дальше все будет хорошо, тоже пошлите их нахуй, потому что, блядь, в Крыму, блядь, роют оборонные укрепления, а в одном подразделении, я не буду пока называть, блядь, в каком, блядь, последний приказ был, блядь, переодевайтесь в гражданку, съебайтесь как хотите, блядь. Но это вот чтобы, ну, поняли весь масштаб, блядь, пиздеца, к которому, блядь, нас планомерно ведут, блядь.
So, talking about entrenching in Crimea, but clearly also not a fan of how things have been progressing so far. And then as they've been retreating, they've been blowing up the bridges. Is that correct?
Yes, it's true. We have reports that they are blowing up bridges. Another interesting report that we received today was that there was a commission on the territory of Russia in major cities like Moscow, for example, that was checking their bomb shelters.
In Moscow?
In big cities like in Moscow.
Ooh, we'll have to. It sounds like Commander McMillan knows about that, so we'll have to. So, in fact, actually, why don't I want to do one more. I want to do one more interesting video, and then I'm going to pass this off to Commander McMillan because he is far more qualified to ask questions than I am. So, we did get a super chat too. So let me quickly hit that super chat. I can read it really slowly in Russian, but what I think I'm going to do is just put it into Google Translate. We have a couple of super chats. Thank you all very much for your support. We sincerely appreciate it. Sam Williams, 20 New Zealand, I think it is. It's in Russian, but loosely translated. Is it glory? I think it's glory to the Russian defenders. Let me just see this. Glory to the defenders of Ukraine. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Better get that one right. Have to get that one right. Glory to the defenders of Ukraine. Victory will be ours. So thank you very much, Sam Williams, for that super chat, and sincerest apologies. That was a very bad misspeak. So we got that correct. Michael Westby, $5. Thank you so much for your continued support, Michael. We really appreciate it. Sorry, so little dollars. I don't pray, but I am always thinking about your safety. Great to see your face and hear your voice. Starsky, not 𝐒𝐢𝐜𝐿. I'm fucking offended. Wow. Well, I mean, I'm glad to see Starsky too, but like I'm a human being, man. I'm just saying. Okay. We appreciate the support anyway. Thank you. Even though you don't care if I'm here or not. Okay, fine. I mean, listen. I have two cats. Okay. I mean, it's not like being on the front lines, but they've got claws. there have been some scary okay, I'm going to shut up now. Level 70, 2799. Hey, Starsky. Any idea how many Russians were abandoned on the wrong side of the river? Also, how much equipment did they leave? Is this another Russian Lend-Lease? Yeah, that's a spectacular question. Yes, thank you. Starsky, please.
So I have approximate numbers, but it's on the level of rumors, rather. We still have to confirm them. That's why I'm not gonna say those numbers yet. But I think that tomorrow you will be impressed, because it's like 50% of all our tanks in terms of, armored vehicles that were left by Russians there. There's a lot of them.
So basically, Russia has surpassed the U.S. as the biggest supplier of Ukrainian weapons.
Yes, we can say so.
Okay.
So there is almost like 1,000 of Russian vehicles at this point that were literally abandoned. They were told to just leave them and GTFO.
Which is mind-boggling to me. It's like, if you're going to have to abandon equipment, why don't you blow it up so the other side can't capture it? It just, I keep going between, was this a retreat slant route, or was this a tactical slant operational withdrawal? And I think they wanted it to be a withdrawal, but it was so poorly executed that it borders on a retreat route. Because they abandon equipment. I know they've abandoned personnel. There are reports that the rear area troops were stunned to see the front line troops just driving through their positions going, wait a minute, I thought you guys were in front. Why are we now in the front? They're not even equipped for it. And it's just, it's a level of operational ineptitude that boggles the mind in some ways.
I think the key is time factor. They didn't have enough time to do that properly.
All right. I know you have more questions. I'm going to do two quick things. First, I want to, okay, just because I have to, I can't avoid the challenge. Starsky, you may want to plug your ears. This is going to be really bad. It's been a long time since I've read Russian, so I still go slow, but there's Slava 𝐒𝐤𝐜𝐻𝐸 Ukraine Перемога буде за нами.
Look, there's blood leaking out of Starsky's ears.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Actually, it sounds nice. Absolutely, you speak like some of our folks on the Western Ukraine.
Спасибо большое. All right, so now that that's done, we're going to do one more thing. This has it's always been difficult saying anything in Russia. There's the joke, and I think I said it before, I lifted this from Commander Macmillan, but the Russians are protesting, and one stands up and says, "We don't have free speech," and someone else says, "Shh, you can't say that," and then the next morning they're both gone. And Russia's always had a very difficult time with what you can and cannot say, and it takes a great deal of skill and patience and cultural understanding to know where that line is. That line has finally created a Gordian knot that Russian TV host Andrei Norkin has realized he cannot undo. He is supposed to opine on what has happened in Ukraine, let his audience know about the withdrawal from Kherson, and he has realized he can't. So let us hear from him exactly what the problem is and why he's got it. And this is, this is pure Russia. I mean, this is holy smoke. Okay, here we go.
Значит, если вы ждете, что я сейчас вам объясню свое отношение к этому, то я вам ничего не скажу. Но объясню почему. Если я поддерживаю это решение и говорю, что Министерство обороны поступает правильно, оставляя Херсон, то получается, что это публичные призывы к нарушению территориальной целостности Российской Федерации. В нашем Уголовном кодексе это статья 280, часть 1. Я специально сегодня утром проверял. Несколько лет лишения свободы. Если я не поддерживаю это решение, я считаю, что Министерство обороны поступило неправильно, оставляя Херсон, это публичные действия, направленные на дискредитацию вооруженных сил, та же самая 280 статья, только часть 3. Срок лишения свободы приблизительно такой же. Я в тюрьму не хочу. Поэтому сейчас мы посмотрим сюжет, а потом мы предоставим слово нашим уважаемым экспертам.
So, yeah. I think Titans called it. I basically barely speak one language well. So thank you all for that. And with that, I'm going to pass this off to Commander McMillan. Commander, take it away, please.
Well, I mean, I don't know exactly what to say about this decision. From an operational standpoint, from the Russian perspective, this makes absolutely perfect sense. They were in an untenable position on that bank of the Dnipro. They needed to get the troops into a safer position. It's also important to realize that many, if not most of the troops in that sector are regular Russian army units, not DNR or LPR, levies or the mercenaries or the Chechen National Guard whack job troops. Those are in the north and central sectors predominantly. The troops that were down in the south were regular Russian army, and many of them were, quote, elite, unquote, formations. So it makes perfect sense to withdraw these troops from a bad position. You're on the opposite side then of a major river, and it's very difficult and costly to do an opposed river crossing. So they know they can probably pull a lot of those formations back, reconstitute and re-equip them, and leave those troops plus newly mobilized Mobic slant conscripts to fill in the gaps in that sector. And then put together something resembling an offensively capable force that they could use, say, when the ground freezes, or more likely at the start of summer when the mud after the spring thaw has solidified enough that they can operate on dry ground. So, as I say, I think it made sense for them to do this. How they executed it, though, to my thinking, indicates that this was a rapid, if not sudden, decision of we've got to do this now. And hence, as Operator Starsky pointed out, it means they abandoned large quantities of equipment, personnel, supplies on that bridgehead as they pulled out. But overall, I think from a strategic standpoint, pulling out was probably the right move on their part. Would you agree?
I completely agree on that. Also, according to our reports, 3 of their major airborne brigades were also located there.
Yep.
And their airborne brigades, basically, they are not infantry. They're like special forces. Yeah. And you cannot use special forces as infantry, but Russians do that all the time.
Well, you can, but it's a rather foolish employment of them.
Yes, but because Russian airborne troops, those VDV, DVD troops, because they're not like their best prepared troops, they're probably their only prepared troops. They're used everywhere. And specifically because they're special forces, they are not good at performing the tasks of motorized brigades. Like
Sure, and they're also not as well equipped as the other brigades, so they're using the BMD, which is the lightweight, small version of like a BMP. It's not as well equipped. It's not as well armored. They don't have a lot of heavy support weapons. They're made to go in quick and grab stuff. And I just think it's interesting that they had so many of them down there, because it was literally their best troops for seizing ground. And then they got caught up in trying to defend ground, which those troops were absolutely unsuited to.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I think it was a wise idea to retreat. And again, we received those reports from about their retreat and leaving those vehicles probably like yesterday. Even I would say a couple of days before. So they were in a hurry. And we can understand that, even despite the fact that they were in a hurry, but it took quite a while because they had to relocate 3 airborne brigades as well as numerous infantry units from that region in a matter of days, using non-existing bridges and stuff. So I think it was a wise idea. That TV host that we just saw, again, his statement was controversial because in case he opposes this decision, he's right. He will be charged. On the other hand, in case he supports giving up so-called Russian territories, again, it's a crime in Russia. So it's so funny and ridiculous at the same time.
Yeah,
I think it was brave of him to make the comment. I mean, what he's saying is obviously 100% true, but the truth has never been a defense in Russia. Yeah.
So one of the reports that I've been seeing coming out of it is that there are a significant number of Russian troops who were left behind. They shed their uniforms and are now in civilian garb. The reports do not make clear whether these are simply soldiers who were trying to get out of the fighting, or this is a potential fifth column operation to stay behind guerrillas, if you will. What's your opinion?
I think it's a bit different here. In my opinion, the situation was following. So they decided to create this ambush for Ukrainian troops. Probably that's the reason, by the way, why those high mobility airborne troops were used there in such amounts. They were expecting for Ukrainian troops to create some kind of breachhead, and then they would try to surround our troops. That's why they started saying, they started speaking about leaving this area probably about a month ago. And they obviously tried to prepare this ambush. Then they realized that no, we understand their plan. So then they had to literally give up and move out, because they understood that it's not gonna happen. And that's why they used this informational message, this from their 𝐒𝐤𝐜𝐿, explaining that yes, they're gloriously retreating from the area as usual. It's so funny. Oh my God, they made this referendum And now they have to just, to just give up everything. It's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. 90% of the reason for this war is propaganda. Yeah, it was from the start. And when you start out with a lie and you keep digging a deeper hole, and the lie becomes more and more absurd, that's where they are today. I mean, they've got laws prosecute you for anything that criticize them because they have nothing left but lies to cover themselves. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you invade another country in order to combat mosquitoes, at some point, I don't know, at some point people will start laughing at you.
Yeah. So what do you think the chances are that they will blow the dam once they have everybody across?
There are chances. I prefer to believe in worse things. I prefer to prepare for worse things.
You're a pessimist like me.
Yeah, but we will see. Again, according to our intelligence, probably it won't change anything much. Again, they know that Crimea will be probably the most difficult territory to liberate. That's why probably they still hope that Crimea will remain Russian, and probably they believe that they will try to trade, water supply from Ukraine to Russia in a perspective, right? Eventually. So I think that blowing up the dam will not be wise.
So it hurts them more than it does you, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So where do you see this going after this is complete? I mean, is the fighting going to shift to another sector and the Southern Front become quiet? Or do you think they will try something else?
If I was them, probably I would try to strike 𝐒𝐚𝐬. Also, we can see that they're accumulating plenty of troops in Belarus. We have reported that 3 𝐒𝐤𝐜𝐴-76 cargo airplanes landed in Belarus today. So they're pumping up the Belarusian territory with their troops. Again, we can see that probably Belarusian army will not participate in this because they're sharing their ammunition, their weapons with Russia that lacks those. They even lack shells. Oh my God! I mean, I could never.
When you have to go to the North Koreans to get ammunition, it really speaks volumes about how unprepared you were.
Yes, at some point, our troops started capturing those boxes with shells that were produced in 2018, 2019, 2020. You know what it means?
Yeah, new stuff. So wow. So they're being forced to go digging deep into old stocks, which are not as reliable, and in some cases, not even the same caliber munitions as they're using today. I mean, I've noticed that about the 𝐒𝐬𝐿, is they're being sent to the front with the old style 7.62 millimeter AKs. Whereas the troops that were, in the initial waves are using the more modern one, which is, I think, 5.6 or something.
5.45, yeah.
Yeah, and it's non-compatible. So now you've just doubled your logistical nightmare of trying to keep different ammunition supplied for small arms to different units. It's just crazy. So,
yeah.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. If I can pause you for a minute, a couple of things. So first of all, and actually, I found this because you, Commander, are the one who actually gave this to me originally and made me aware of it. 2 months ago to the day, September 11th, the Russian Defense Ministry, as they were retreating from Kharkiv, put out the following statement. This is what they said. This is not a joke. I am not this fucking funny. This is what they said. Quote, our heroic Russian soldiers are victoriously retreating from the Kharkiv region, followed by panic-stricken Ukrainian forces. That was their retreat from Kharkiv.
You don't look suitably panic-stricken, Starsky.
Yeah.
You need to change your expression.
Yeah, we're so panicking on the attack. Oh my god.
Orwellian doublespeak taken to new levels.
That's utterly insane. We also have a, and I think, Macmillan, this may go into what you were saying earlier. Level 70 has given us a super chat, $6.99. Thank you so much, and we will be donating all of today's super chats. Starsky had given us a charity. Starsky, if you wanted to stay at that charity, fine. If you want to move it, fine as well. But all of them are going to the charity of Starsky's choice. So thank you very much for your $6.99 super chat. Hey guys, any comment on General Mark Miley's statement that Ukrainian casualties are the same as Russian forces? I find that hard to believe. He is referring to a comment Mark Miley made at the Economic Club of New York on Wednesday. He said, first of all, that Russian casualties are actually closer to 100,000. Current estimates from the U.S. are that they're as high as 70 to 80,000. Miley said he believes they're higher at about 100,000. But he also
think the 70,000 figures as of about a month ago, and this catastrophe is going to really raise that a lot.
Well, he also said that he believes Ukrainian casualties are as high, which I find hard to believe for any number of reasons, but he did say that. Any thoughts from either of you gentlemen? Thank you again for the super chat. Any thoughts?
Commander Macmillan?
Well, first off, I'm going to note that the 70/100,000 figure that is being discussed about Russian, quote, casualties is not casualties. It's dead, not casualties, which includes wounded and missing. Typically in warfare, you have about a 1-to-3 ratio. So for every one guy who dies, you have 3 people that are either wounded or missing in action. So if you add all that up, let's assume the best case scenario for the 70,000, which was a number that actually came from leaked Russian documents. So it's fairly reliable that at least as of a month ago, they'd suffered 70,000 dead. If you extrapolate that, it means they suffered over 200,000 wounded and missing in action. So you add all that together, and their casualties are actually 250,000 plus troops. Now, the question that's coming up from you is, what have Ukrainian losses been? Well, we haven't seen anything like that. Typically, the numbers of casualties on both sides tend to be roughly equal in terms of the statistical averages, in terms of if you're attacking, you're going to take this many casualties. If you're defending, you're going to take this many casualties. The issue here is that I think most of the Ukrainian casualties been suffered in defensive combat up until recently, and the defender typically suffers lower casualties than the attacker does by about a 2/3 ratio. And then you look at Ukrainian offensive operations, and at least from what I've seen in the rapidity of most of the Ukrainian advances, they're not being opposed as seriously as the Russians attacking the Ukrainians have been. In a lot of cases, there's an initial hard fight for a breakthrough, and then once the breakthrough goes in, the Russian forces just panic and run, so there's very little return fire. So I suspect that Ukrainian casualties are probably around half to 2/3 of what the Russians have taken, not equal, but that's just guesstimate.
All right.
I can agree, yes, I can agree on that, and I can also say that as like speaking for Ukrainians, we should probably also count the number of civilian casualties, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think if you add civilian casualties, yours probably exceed theirs.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. And another thing is Russians usually pump it up, pump up the number of Ukrainian casualties by 10 times. Literally, because if you count all the HIMARS they destroyed, all the airplanes they shot down and stuff, something like that. But another thing is that why Russians do that? Because Russians convinced that if they show those numbers and say that we have destroyed bazillion of Ukrainians, at some point Ukrainians that are being attacked and killed, they will say, oh my God, we're dying in such high numbers, let's just give up and die, willfully. So it doesn't.
So they're hoping you'll believe their propaganda.
Yeah, it doesn't work this way. And again, Ukrainians don't care much about our own losses, honestly, because it doesn't matter at this point. We are fighting for our future. And it doesn't matter if there's 100,000 losses or 1 million losses. We don't care. We still have 39 millions to care about.
Yeah.
That's something that Russians will never understand. This stuff doesn't work on.
Yeah, they don't see it as the existential combat. The fight is not existential for them. This is we're just doing this because it's politically expedient. And for you guys, it's literally the existence of Ukraine will be decided by this war.
Yes, absolutely. And another thing, yesterday we had live on a radio with my buddy Bogdan that was released from Russian captivity recently, and he said one interesting thing. He said that in Russian media, it's something that they saw on Russian TV because they were given this opportunity to see Russian TV like once a month or something like that. So according to Russian media, Russian troops are not dying from Ukrainians. They're dying from NATO troops, from NATO UAVs, from NATO-controlled missiles and stuff like that. They're dying from the hands.
Plague rats.
Yeah. They're dying from the hands of Polish and American mercenaries and things like that. They don't die from Ukrainians because Ukrainians naturally cannot kill Russian people. They physically they are unable to. Yes, because they're so weak and stuff, which is very important in my opinion, because they have this fear, very, very big fear, that at some point Russians will understand that they're useless until they can convince Russian population that Ukrainians cannot kill Russians. Russians have this magical, shield, this orthodox white magic. I don't know. They cannot be killed by Ukrainians, but those satanic NATO troops, yeah, they can do that.
Well, it turns out that
I think there's another element that needs. Go ahead.
Oh, a Ukrainian bullet can kill him, though. It turns out. Sorry, please continue. Sorry, Nicola.
I was going to point out that there's another aspect of why they have to think that way, because there is a large portion of the, quote, Russian, unquote, population that aren't really Russian. They're little ethnic enclaves like the Chechens, but you can go throughout all the border regions and even interior of Russia. There are small enclaves of people who do not think of themselves as Russian from an ethnic standpoint. They may believe they're part of a Russian state, but they see themselves as distinctly different. And it's hard to put it in a context for Americans, but I'll give it a try by saying it's like how Native Hawaiians view being part of the United States, because they still think of themselves as a distinct people who are part of this country, but they're not really of the country, if you get what I'm saying. And if you start doing the kind of thing of admitting that Ukrainians are capable of fighting the Russians and defeating the Russians, then it gives rise to those little ethnic enclaves to say, maybe we can become an independent country too. And I mean, you saw that with Chechnya, with the war in Chechnya that went on. And you've seen a number of issues like that going on in the Caucasus region. But I can easily see at the end of this a lot more ethnic internal struggles in Russia as people begin to realize that the image of the unbeatable and unbreakable Russian soldier is suddenly gone. And they're seen as, having more than just feet of clay. They're entirely made of paper mache.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, I think this is Putin's problem. This is huge. One of the things trying to discuss this yesterday and put into context how big this is for Putin too, in terms of how huge a loss. It's a little hard to overestimate. Let's get to that in a second. We've got a couple of super chats. Sinister Porpoise, $2. Slava Ukraini. Thank you so much, Sinister Porpoise. We appreciate your continued support as always. 219 Norwegian kroner, I think it is. All the best from Norway. Thank you, Adun. I'm going to say Adun. I think that's how it's pronounced. And 500 from Denmark. That's more mule. Greetings from Denmark. Heart, Ukraine. So thank you all very much. We sincerely appreciate it. While I've got your attention too, if you want to join us on the Discord, Commander McMillan is on our Discord answering questions. We have all of this stuff. We have the video, a lot of the footage that we've shown here. We actually first got on our Discord, so you can keep up with what we're doing, show schedules, the whole 9 yards there. So I hope you will check that out. I had a couple of other questions, and I don't know, Commander, did you have any other questions that you wanted to ask about?
Yeah. The Russians went to this great effort to try to put out propaganda about a possible Ukrainian, quote, dirty bomb, unquote. And that's kind of slid off of the awareness airwaves. But it does bring up the question of the nuclear reactor that is going, it's still operating on the Dnipro River. Do you see them deliberately sabotaging that as a way to contaminate the area and blame it on you? And I'm sorry, I keep referring to you as all Ukrainians. You're representing them here, but you get what I mean.
Well, Starsky is getting some fame. They may just blame him. They're gonna detonate the thing, and they're gonna say it was Starsky himself who did it. Right after he was on In Time, he went down there, and you just, oh my God. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So. Absolutely. I think they can do that. On the other hand, again, if we're talking about capturing territories, which they still won't. So It doesn't seem likely to me.
Okay.
But again, I would not exclude this.
Yeah, you can't
because
rule anything crazy out from them. They've
absolutely,
proven that
because we're
already.
talking about Russians, and everything is possible in the Russian world.
Yeah, and the flip side on that is if they blow the dam, they essentially kind of do the same thing with the reactor, because the cooling pond for that reactor is from the river, and I think if you blow the dam, then the cooling pond goes dry. So
Yes.
it's a dangerous situation all around. Hopefully somebody has convinced them that this is really a dumb move if they do it.
Well, and I'm going to correct Starsky. He said Russians, you can do anything. They can do anything. No, they can do anything except, like, say things honestly. They can't, like, talk honestly. But other than that, they can do anything. I'm sorry.
I confirm that.
Yeah.
It's almost instinctual too.
It is. We've had that discussion on the After Dark, not the After Dark, the downtime. I mean, it's like it's generations of they can't tell the truth about anything, and that video is a good example of why. Absolutely terrifying. All right, so invite operator Starsky to a downtime stream. You guys could have very similar. Oh, I think downtime would be spectacular for Starsky. We could just sit back and shoot the shit. I think that would be fun. I'm definitely gonna talk to him about that. But actually, do you have any other streams that you're going to be doing anytime in the near future, operator Starsky?
So tomorrow is gonna be the Shields, and also I want to do a stream with Artur Ray from Estonia, the Estonian soldier.
Mm-hmm.
Probably next week, because again, this situation with blackout is unpredictable. The blackout started exactly the moment when I was about to join you guys, and I was lucky that I managed to buy this power station and power up my equipment. But unfortunately, internet sucks. So I'm using the mobile internet at this point, and it appears though that it's not bad, because you can see me and hear me, and I can see and hear you well. But
at this point, yours is better than mine.
It depends. It depends. Sometimes our internet is so bad. Probably it's because majority of our retranslators probably they work with Starlink, and those Starlinks get shut down for some reason often. Maybe that.
All right, we'll with any luck, I'll be joining you on the Shills, and I don't know, maybe I can get Commander McMillan to swing by too. We'll have to see. Given your internet, I don't know, but we had another interesting question / observation. So let me find this report. Oh, I had it here a second ago. Now where did this come from? Okay, so oh dear Lord, I seem to have lost it. Let me look. Oh, here it is. Okay, so Ukrainian forces progressing through the Kherson front as Russians complain that they were, quote, stabbed in the back, since Ukrainians continue to shoot at them as they withdraw. Any thoughts, gentlemen?
So this was a voluntary contractual withdrawal. Okay, I get it.
Yeah. Again, we're returning to this informational strategy that they're not fighting against Ukrainians. They're fighting against some nationalists and fascists and NATO troops. As for Ukrainians, they're brothers. of course, and Russians want to liberate Ukrainians because they love them and they don't want to, kill Ukrainians. So probably at some point, they decided that they have to implement some kind of changes to this informational strategy and finally start saying that, those Ukrainians are not Russians. They're different. They're angry at us for some reason.
Or why? All right. Any final thoughts, Commander, before we head off?
No, I think this was an interesting discussion and I don't want to say profitable, but certainly a successful week from the Ukrainian point of view. Let's have more of those.
Oh, I could not agree more. Operator Starsky, any final thoughts?
I agree on that. Soon we will see a lot of new reports from Kherson. There will be different reports. There will be interesting ones with all those piles of ammunition that was brought to the right bank, to Kherson area, basically. I'm sure that there will be a lot of beautiful videos of people celebrating together with our soldiers. I hope that that there will not be anything that we saw in Izium, for example, or Bucha, when those cities were liberated. But again, we're talking about Russians. That's why internally I'm prepared to see those reports as well. So we'll keep our eye on that, and we will see the situation developing.
All right. Well, thank you very much once again for coming on. We look forward to seeing you next week, Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern again. And hopefully we're going to have some more good news. Hopefully the good news is going to continue. But congratulations. Thank you very much for your time. We sincerely appreciate it. Excuse me. To the audience, we have a number of shows coming up in the next couple of days. Professor Christopher Mowdy is going to be featured heavily for some reason over the next week, but it should be a lot of fun, so you can check that out on the channel. Also on the Discord, please, if you we appreciate all the support that we've gotten, so thank you all for that. But like, subscribe, and share if you like the content and want to share it with a friend, and hopefully your friend likes it too, so they win and it helps us out. So thank you all very much for your support, and we look forward to seeing you all, barring any breaking news, which every time I say that's a great way to curse it. But on the flip side, there's been so much going on. The number of times we've had to go to breaking for one thing or another. We look forward to seeing you all ostensibly next week. Have a great rest of your weekend all.